Ryan Stevenson, who was on the show last night, he's not normally one to hold back, and he certainly hasn't on Wilfried Nancy. Can you tell us a bit more?
Yeah, he's written a column. Listen, I have to advise everybody out there, it's it's thermonuclear, the column. It's a terrific read. But yeah, I mean, it is a bit of a filleting for Wilfried Nancy. Listen, anybody that knows Ryan Stevenson, has read previous stuff of his, we all know that he's not one for kind of new age stuff creeping into football. He kind of likes to rebel against it. So you can imagine his take then on Wilfried Nancy and the tactics board and all this. I'll read you some of it. This is what's up online just now. But to get the full flavour for it, you really have to read the full column, which will be up online and in the paper tomorrow morning. He's warned Wilfried Nancy to ditch his green trainers and tactics board if he wants to be taken seriously as Celtic's new manager. And basically, the quotes are, there's a certain DNA to clubs like Celtic. So when a new manager arrives and starts pulling out tactics boards and green trainers, you have to ask yourself, what are we actually dealing with here? No disrespect to the MLS. It's a good league and it's a decent standard. I get that. But this is Celtic Football Club we're talking about. It's a worldwide institution. I'm not even a Celtic fan, but I'm absolutely raging about what I've seen from Nancy in his first day in the job. If he doesn't learn quickly and stop making these same mistakes, then I'm afraid this job is going to eat him up and spit him back out before he even knows it. The vibe I'm getting is that this is simply not going to work. Ryan then speaks about, I think his feeling is that tactically, Derek McInnes took the new boy to school at the weekend. I would kind of agree with that as well. I thought that, and we discussed that on Sunday, didn't we? That Derek McInnes just got everything spot on in terms of letting Celtic overload into the wider areas of the pitch, ram his box with maroon shirts, make sure that they won everything that came into the box rather than fighting for it out the wings. They were set up to counter-attack. And Ryan says there's a photograph doing the rounds from the second half which sums it up perfectly. Nancy is standing with his little tactics board trying to explain something to Callum McGregor. Derek is in the background with a look in his face which almost screams, what the F is this guy all about? I'm sorry, but Nancy simply won't get away with gimmicks like that at Celtic Park. If you're going to be the manager of Celtic, you should be standing at the side of the pitch trying to figure out things. You shouldn't, be standing at the side of the pitch trying to figure out things on a tactics board. The ideas should be in your head already. You have to, at the very least, give off the impression that you're in control and that you know how to solve problems. Yeah, but he's a student of the game. Please, F off with that patter. I cannot stand it. Just make a decision. That's just a touch of it, by the way.
You said it was thermonuclear. He's definitely taking his flamethrower out, hasn't he?
Yeah. And look, Ryan Stevenson and I are actually kindred spirits in terms of the new age stuff and the classroom academic coaches. I think football's gone too far down that pathway over the last wee while, and you can see even in the English Premiership right now that it's becoming a little bit old hat. It's almost like it's had its day. People are moving back towards stuff that makes more sense. Look, I don't know. It's a tough one. That's it's game one for Wilfried Nancy. And as I said, I think I said on Sunday, if somebody in Celtic could pull him aside, it might be not a bad thing to say, well, big man, I'm not sure that the tactics board is going to be a great look here. I know that you might like it. It might be a sort of a clutch blanket for you, whatever. But it's not going to. And I think Ryan Stevenson's point is it makes him look like a guy who's trying to figure it out, who's using this technique to try and figure out what's in front of him. And Ryan Stevenson, he was there himself, I think doing commentary for the BBC. And he said it was obvious. I mean, you only had to look at with your own two eyes to realise where Hearts were getting on top of Celtic and where the Celtic system wasn't working. And I think it's I don't know, what is it? An optics issue that I just don't think fans in this country are there yet where you're ready to buy into this. You want to see your manager being proactive understanding what's going on in front of him, not having to rely on that to get messaging across. It looks to me like an overly complicated sort of a set of circumstances. And as some of us have always believed, football's not just as complicated as that. It's a simple game that sometimes, there's a rush to overcomplicate it. So, look, as I said, that's day one. I'm not overly comfortable with the bashing Wilfried Nancy over the head because of that, because he uses that thing. Because who knows, if he gets Celtic absolutely flying, they're tearing teams apart, and he's still sitting there on his wee tactics board. Well, who's going to slaughter him for that day? It just didn't look great on day one when I think he was still looking at the tactics board when Hearts won the corner from which they took a 2-goal lead. So that optically, it just couldn't have looked any worse than it did. Listen, if he's using the tactics board again on Thursday night and his team's tearing Roma apart, scoring 4 goals, there won't be any complaints about it at that point. So just almost perfect storm stuff on day one for Wilfried Nancy. But as I said, that's Ryan Stevenson's view. It's really strong. I've got some sympathy with a lot of it, but it'll be interesting to see what the Celtic fans make of it.
Well, we do. We have fans getting involved in the conversation already, and if you want to let us know your thoughts, please do so. Let me run through a few of these. Mark says, how the hell can you fill any manager after 2 days and 1 game in a job? Scott says, tactics board is fine. They have them in the dressing room.
Yeah.
Tommy agrees, says Nancy, get away with the tactics board. Bob says it's like Chris Boyd in the way he filleted Ian Cathro on his iPad. Lightworks says most managers use iPads. Nobody bats an eyelid. It's a physical board. There's an issue. What do you think they're showing in the iPads? Honestly, David goes in hard and he says, who cares what Ryan Stevenson says? And his knowledge of Nancy in the badge. Kisser from Govan. Hearts are being run by analytics. What's the mouth of the South saying about that? 2 days at the club. Come on. And Scott again says if he gets the results, who will really care? And it's worth saying as well, Keith, that Sam
That's
Allardyce,
the bottom line.
Aye, that is the bottom line.
But again, Nancy didn't help himself with his quote after the game, did he, really? Where he's saying that I'm more interested in performance levels than results. And I know that, you can talk that one around, and what it means is, well, I know if we're performing the way I want us to perform, the results will follow. That's natural. So I get it, but I just feel there's 1 or 2 things there that presentationally could have been avoided. He's maybe not helped himself get off to this sort of start that he really would have wanted to get off to as Celtic manager. And we knew going into this game at the weekend, because Martin O'Neill had performed so incredibly well during his time and it was leaving on the back of 5 straight wins, we did say, this isn't with the benefit of hindsight, Daniel, we said going into the game that there was a raised level of pressure here because Martin O'Neill had left a really high bar. Nice. And he fell way below it. And he fell way worse than that. He fell way below it by ripping up everything that Martin O'Neill had put in place in order to make this Celtic side, to give it the winning formula. So there was a lot at stake there in terms of making a first impression. But the callers, the kind of comments are right there. It has to be, remember, that's what Saturday was, a first impression. This doesn't mean that this is going to, be what Wilfried Nancy's time at Celtic looks like indefinitely. It's the way it started. It was a bad start, probably as bad a start as it could have been. But let's see what the coming few days bring, because as we'd said again previously before this, he was coming into a 3-game streak, which is really significant in Celtic season.
Huge, eh?
Game 1 couldn't have got off to a worse start, as I said. Game 2, beat Roma under lights at Celtic Park. You'll make everybody feel a whole lot better about themselves. Tactics board, green trainers or not. And then you've got the chance to go to Hampden and lift a trophy. So, it's not ideal the way it started for Wilfried Nancy, but now he goes into these 2 games and he can shut everybody up by delivering in these matches, getting a couple of massive wins and and really set a fire under the second half of Celtic season.